Everyone says OP01 is king. It's the set that started it all, the one people keep chasing. But what if I told you it might actually be one of the worst buys right now? I ran the numbers, looking at the supply, demand, and actual chase card values. And let's just say, the most hyped sets aren't always the best ones to hold. I'm doing this video because a lot of people have been asking me which One Piece box is the best one to buy right now. Instead of giving a quick opinion, I decided to break it down with data. I built a spreadsheet pulling real data from several sources, including TCGPlayer, Cardmarket, PSA, and recent price trends, which is all stored here in this spreadsheet. This isn't just random guessing. I wanted to build a system I could reuse later, so maybe even something you can apply on your own. It's not perfect, but it gives a structured way to think through what's actually worth buying. On the left, I've listed transaction counts and current box prices from TCGPlayer. Next to that, I've included prices for the chase cards, cards worth $300 and above, and submission numbers from PSA. You'll also notice I've excluded a few sets like OP12, OP13, and PRB02. These are too new, with limited data, and I felt it wouldn't be fair to include them in this analysis. So the first thing I wanted to figure out was which box is the most undervalued based on market activity. Logically, the best way to do this is to compare a box price with the demand and supply behind it. But as we all know, good data in the TCG world is very hard to get. So I had to use proxies. For demand, I used the number of transactions over the past 3 months, but I realized that volume alone isn't enough. The box could be transacting a lot because it's being dumped in the bear market as well. So I added a pretty simple price trend adjustment. If the box price increased, there will be a multiplier to reflect stronger buy interest. And if the price dropped, I reduced the demand score. So I know this isn't exact, of course. Some people might still buy when the price drops, but if you're seeing high volume and rising prices, that's usually a pretty strong demand signal. So that should give me a more accurate demand proxy. Now for supply, I first looked at TCGPlayer listings, but the numbers were pretty low to be meaningful. I also considered looking at the graded card populations, but I didn't think that was a good enough proxy for current supply. In the end, the best source I found was Europe's Cardmarket. It had consistent listing numbers across all boxes, so I used that as my supply proxy instead. Once I had both demand and supply proxies, I used this formula. This final number shows how much market heat you are getting per dollar spent. Looking at the results, you can see that OP11 came out on top. High transaction count, rising price, low listings, and still relatively cheap. Next in line were OP05, EB02, and OP09. All boxes with pretty decent demand supply numbers and reasonable prices as well. And on the flip side, you see OP08, OP10, and yes, even OP01 scored pretty poorly. OP08 and OP10 were dragged down by high supply and weaker demand, whereas OP01, well, I would say it's just too expensive for what you're actually getting. I understand some collectors love OP01 for nostalgia or first print hype, and man, that's totally valid. But if you're talking about value per dollar, the data just doesn't support it right now. At this point, I thought I was done. But then, thinking twice, this first method that I used it was using weird proxies and a lot of assumptions. So I built a second model to cross-check the results. This second method is a lot simpler, and it's all about risk and reward. Instead of looking at how the box is moving in the market, I focus on what's inside. And the formula is pretty simple. Take the total value of chase cards, apply a rough weighting factor to adjust for rarity, then divide that by the current price of the box. This will give us a chase ROI ratio. How much potential value you are getting from the chase cards relative to what you paid. Now let's look at OP01 again. It costs around 900 bucks to buy one right now, and its top card, the Manga Shanks, is worth around 2000 bucks. So that's about 2.2x ROI if you hit the jackpot. But now you compare that to OP05, which costs about 350 bucks and gives you a shot at 3 manga cards and an Oda sign card. All of these worth serious money. So you're getting better risk-adjusted reward from OP05 when you compare with OP01. Now let's move to the combined results on sheet 4. So when I combine both models, one based on market pressure and one based on chase card value, you start seeing pretty clear trends. Boxes that consistently show up near the top are OP05, OP09, OP11, and EV02. Whereas boxes that consistently show up near the bottom are boxes like OP01, OP03, and OP10. When two very different models tell you the same thing, that's probably a signal that you shouldn't ignore. So again, this obviously isn't a perfect system, right? There are a lot of assumptions baked into both models, but that's the reality of the TCG world. We'll never have perfect data. And to be honest, there are things that are more qualitative rather than quantitative, like such as hype and sentiments and all, which is quite difficult to build into the model. So what I'm trying to do here is to build a smarter way to think about seal product, especially if you're collecting long term or investing strategically. If this helped you see the market differently, leave a like or a comment. And if you want to build on these models or disagree with any of the rankings, I would love to hear of you. StrawHatLoots, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.